Welcome back to another episode of Feelin the Healin with Foltzy. I'm super excited about my guest today. This guy lives and plays in a world that I might dabble in, but I won't go all in his world at all. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a gambler. He has 6 World Series of Poker bracelets, which essentially 6 championships. Phenomenal. Has over $12 million of career earnings. He's been nominated 3 different times for the Poker Hall of Fame, which absolutely going to get there. He's right there, and he's going to nail it. Josh, Arieh, thank you for being on the show and taking the time out to meet with me and be here. So it's pretty cool having you here. Yeah, I mean, you're such a unique guest because, like I said, you live in a world that scares me to death.
It's definitely a world that not many people know about. But it's kind of changed like it started when I was younger, where it was like the back of the pool halls and in dark rooms where it was like the dirty of the dirtiest people, where it's just like hustlers and con men and, you know, not the cleanest job. But as years have progressed and it became more mainstream, it's definitely out there. And, you know, TV changed that, where when in 2003, Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker. And so it's definitely more mainstream now, but it's still, you know, you don't meet many poker players.
So you grew up in Rochester, New York. So you're born there, raised there.
Yeah.
And childhood, I think age 13 is when kind of you started. I mean, let me just ask. So did you start like with Uno? I mean, did you go in that gradual, or was it like go fish?
So when I was born in Rochester, my dad raised 3 kids on his own. But when we were 8 years old, we moved down here to Atlanta. When I was 8 years old, we moved to Atlanta. And in 8th grade,
oh, here we go. Here we go.
in 8th grade, a bunch of guys that I was hanging out with, we would spend the night at a buddy's house, and he had a pool table in the basement. And there was a guy that was pretty good, but I've always been really competitive. Like ever since, as long as I can remember, I had to win no matter what I was doing. And he taught me how to play pool. Well, after about 30 minutes, I'm playing pool for $5 a game, lose that game, $10 a game, lose, until I owed this guy a ridiculous amount of money that a 13-year-old is never going to see. Well, I ended up like losing my wallet, like physical wallet. He like took the wallet for $500 that I owed him. And then I'll never forget, I had this J. Crew. Back in the day, J. Crew was only from a catalog. So I like worked my butt off cutting grass to buy this jacket, and I lost it to him playing pool. That was at 13. And then at 14, I found the pool hall, and I was in there playing for like $1 and $2 a game. And then I think at 17 or 18, I made my way to a different pool hall that was bigger. And when the pool hall would close, the bartender everybody would get around this pool table and play poker. Well, I had never, like I knew how to play a few drinking games from high school, but I didn't know poker. I've always been good at math. And I recognized that this poker game, people were losing their money in situations that you would just never lose your money. Like this guy is like the only card he could catch to win is like, he's like a 20-to-1 underdog to catch this card, but he's putting all his money in there in case he catches it. And it really intrigued me how all these people at the pool hall that would only gamble if they had a pure lock playing pool. They would only gamble with the nuts. But playing poker, they're just emptying out, losing all their money. And so the math behind it was pretty easy to me for some reason. And so I played more, paid attention, and like learned some cues just from, you know, people's expressions and how they were happy in a hand, or sad, and then people trying to fake being sad and fake being happy. It came really easy to me, and so then it was like winning money playing poker was easier than going and getting a job at a telemarketing place or a courier at or delivering Chinese food or pizzas. It was easier making money that way, and I was never really good at school, so I always knew that college wasn't going to be for me. So I just dug in and paid attention and listened to people that were smarter than me, and listened to people that had been doing this. One of my biggest role models was an extremely smart guy. His name was Larry Cart. He was actually the MVP before the NCAA tournament before the NCAA basketball tournament was what it is now. It was called the Sugar Bowl tournament. And he was like the MVP of the Sugar Bowl tournament. He was a professor. Well, he lost all his money gambling, all his money on women, all his money on drugs. And he was one of my role models in a way that I didn't want to be him. I saw what somebody so smart and so talented in every aspect of life. What could happen to this guy could easily happen to me. And I just made it a point that I don't want to be him. And but he was just one of the negative role models. I have a million people that were mentors to me along the way. I was very lucky to meet some really smart people along the way, and because I've always been more leaning towards the gambling side. Like, risk to me is like, I don't care about risk. I'm not afraid of it, and that can be to the demise of somebody in any profession.
Sure.
And so I listened to these smart people, and then I pulled the reins back a little to where I became a little more risk adverse than I had been previously, and eventually so as I came up, I wanted to make sure that I never went broke the same way twice. Like, I'll go broke some way, and I'm fine with it, and I learned a lesson from it. It's like when you lose, if you learn from it, is it really a loss? It's a setback, but it's not really a loss. But the mistake that gamblers make is continuing to lose the same way over and over and over. I mean, I've gone broke every way possible, but eventually you run out of ways to go broke, and when a situation comes up, you see that, 5 years ago, I lost all my money betting sports. Well, I'm not going to do that again. Or 5 years ago, I saw this guy in this dealing the shell game on the side of the street that there's no way I can lose. I could see, and you don't lose that way. And so, I mean, just from gambling for 35 years, I wouldn't say that I've perfected it, but I've kind of run out of ways to go broke along the way.
So we're going to talk a lot more about some of this stuff, because you're opening up my head and all kinds of crazy. My head's spinning right now on stuff I want to talk about. I mean, I've got some notes here, but now I'm like, wait a second, we may have to break off the notes. It's funny you talk about you've kind of always been good at math and reading stuff. And I always say that people don't really you don't fall into really a career by accident. I think everybody's gifted to do something, and when they find what they're gifted at, they're going to flourish at it. And hearing you talk about, I was always good at kind of math and figuring out, okay, that's not a good odd, or that's not a good, why is he betting on that when that card's probably not going to come?
Right.
The same thing with probably blackjack. Technically you're not supposed to count cards and stuff, but somebody who's really good at it kind of knows what they've seen. Right. And obviously hearing you talk about this, and then reading faces, which everybody talks about poker faces. I think, doesn't Lady Gaga sing something about poker faces? Something, I don't know, but anyway. But obviously these poker faces, and you being able to read that stuff, it's obviously something you're gifted at, and that's where you kind of started to excel your path.
Growing up in the pool hall, it's kind of, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but it's just like the lowest of the low lives. Like, every hustler is trying to beat you out of your money. And I just had a knack for understanding people and understanding who I want to be around, because there's great people in the pool hall as well. Understanding who I want to be around, understanding who I shouldn't be around, and just reading personalities and then translating that over into poker. It's like, I know who's a good guy. I know who's being dishonest, and it's just, I took my people reading ability that I gained. I was very independent from an early age. Like, my dad worked really hard to provide for 3 kids, and I became very independent along the way. I mean, I wouldn't let my 14-year-old kid go into a pool hall where I was in a pool hall every night. And so I was kind of thrown out to the wolves and made to find my way on my own. So along the way, I just gained some street sense in a way, and it translated really well into poker. And then math, I was quick, and I wasn't a good student, but I could really crush some 7th grade math. I mean, it's like I could tell you all. 7th grade math I perfected, and so it's all contributed into my career, and also, like, as I've evolved through the years, I really have amazing people around me, and I'm surrounded by the best poker players in the world, and I get to bounce ideas off them, and I just try to be a sponge and take in everything that. I'd be an idiot to not, like, I'm literally surrounded by the best poker players in the world, and when they talk, I just listen. I just sit back and absorb everything that I can.
That's a good point, because I think anybody who has taken it to the next level of their career, whether it's an athlete or whoever, it's they're surrounding themselves with talent.
Right.
They're not hanging out with losers. They're not hanging out with bad people. They're going to drag them down, and that makes a big difference.
For sure.
And that kind of leads me to my next thing. I'm going to imagine that's where did you, at what point did you take it from? Okay, I'm in the pool halls, I'm here, I'm doing this, and now all of a sudden you're playing with the big boys.
Yeah.
How did that elevate to? You're now in your World Series stuff.
Right. So when I was around 22, I kind of outgrew the games in Atlanta. Like, I got to where I either wasn't really welcome because I played better, or the games weren't big enough because I felt like they weren't worth my time. So this is when I found Biloxi, Mississippi. And anytime I had like $2,000 in my pocket, I had a Honda Civic that would make it to Biloxi in 1 tank of gas, and I would drive down there and I would play until I either couldn't keep my eyes open or I went broke. I would leave $60 in the car, and if I went broke, there was $60 in the car to fill the car up with gas and get some food and come home. And eventually, and that didn't go smoothly. Like, I didn't just go down there and it wasn't, forever after. Like, there was some scars. Like, I went down there and I went broke numerous times, came back up here, would go get a job for a week, get a paycheck, go play poker, run it up again, do it all over again. And eventually I got to where I could beat the games down there. And then when I was 24, when I was 24, I made my first trip to Vegas, and I thought I was invincible. Like, I really didn't. I thought I could beat absolutely any poker game, no matter what. And my first World Series of Poker event, I stayed up all night in my first night in Vegas, and played a tournament, got knocked out, slept for about 15 hours, and then I won the next tournament that I played. But it was, it was definitely a rocky road, and it was, but I learned, and still to this day, every time I sit down at a table or talk poker with anybody, I try to learn something. And if I'm trying to learn something about myself to make myself better, it's that, or I'm learning something about other players' mindsets and other things that other players think about. It's
all right. So I think so now you're on the big stage.
yeah.
I think the intensity is real, and not to mention the stakes that you're playing with is big boy money.
Yeah.
But now there's TV cameras.
Right.
And this thing's all, I mean, there's commentators. Now, I mean, this is a TV show, is all going, I mean, does that add any stress to it, or are you not really thinking about that?
I've always thought of myself as the more adrenaline I have, the better that I am. So the more pressure, I feel like I'm able to dig deep and perform. And it's just like our buddy John. I mean, it's like he's the best pitcher. I mean, I don't even care about Andy Pettitte. Smoltz is the ultimate competitor, and when the lights are the brightest, he shines the most. And I've always thought of myself as stepping up similar, not as well, but in a similar way to where when there's more money at risk, when there's more pressure, my thoughts are going to flow better. My processes and everything is just going to mesh better. And I love the bright lights. I love looking at my opponent and seeing fear and seeing somebody that, and when I'm able to recognize that, you know what, they're not in their element. They aren't near as comfortable as me. And I don't know the right word. I dig it. I mean, I relish it. I mean, it's a feeling that it's just, I mean, I love thinking about it. I mean,
I will say, neither you or Smoltzy like to lose. Yeah, you're very competitive. You both are very competitive.
It doesn't matter what it is. Like if we were bouncing quarters off the bar, I mean, I'm going to play until
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And it's so much fun. I mean, he's awesome to compete against. We've had so many nights we're so mad at each other, and it's just it's a I don't know, I love it. Like but it also hurts me. I mean, but it's the reason that I've gotten to the level that I am, because I hate the feeling of losing at the immediate time. Like there's nothing worse than losing right then at the moment. But later on, when I'm able to reflect, I take some time and dissect it a little bit and learn something from it.
All right. So where's the nickname Poi?
In my whole career, like I think every poker player's career, you go out to the World Series every year and you dream of being the player of the year. At the World Series of Poker, there are 2 banners every year that get hung, and they'll be hung forever. There's whoever wins the main event, the 10,000 buy-in main event of the World Series of Poker, they get a banner, and then the player of the year, they get a banner. And so there's banners all over at the World Series of Poker. And so every year, every poker player goes out there with a dream of player of the year or winning the main event. And in 2021, I caught fire and did really good and ended up winning player of the year. And so my boys have been calling me Poi. Yeah, calling me Poi for a bit. And it was a hell. It's the biggest accomplishment of my career. It's tough going out there, and because when you're playing poker, when you're playing poker tournaments, you're losing like 80% of the time. You're literally getting your head kicked in every day, 80% of the time. You are going home with no money. And to be relentless and show up every single day for the course of 6 weeks and playing a new tournament and winning the player of the year, it's a hell of an accomplishment and something that I'm pretty proud of.
Well, as you should be. I don't have a banner, but I have a nickname that was given to me back in high school when I played football. My nickname was New Shoes because obviously I had some new cleats, these brand new white. I don't even know. I don't think they were from like Walmart or Kmart or something. And then one day my coach, and I'll tell you why in a second, gave me the nickname Digger, Digger. They call me Dig or Digger because I worked at a pet cemetery in high school. No joke. And I dug graves. And I kept that a secret. You don't really broadcast that kind of thing. And I had to go to a morning practice, and I had my truck with a wheelbarrow and the shovel, and an animal, a dog, in a see-through plastic bag that I was going to be burying after practice. And I had to park in the shade. It was summertime.
Oh, God.
One of the coaches saw it, so my nickname was. I don't really talk about that much, but so if you're ever with me and we see somebody back in the day, they'll call, "Hey, Dig." So,
I mean, you're really dating yourself with Pet Cemetery.
Pet Cemetery, I know, and I did okay. I made decent money. I probably still should be doing it.
Yeah.
So
we have something to fall back on. There's a lot of pets in Alpharetta. So.
And mostly crematories these days. So you just got back from Vegas. You just got married to Rachel, right, in April? Yeah. And you all went out. You have 2 daughters.
I have 2 daughters.
Y'all were all out there. How'd that go?
It was great, man. It's really cool. So, like, my kids have been coming to Vegas during the World Series every year forever. Emily got to play. Emily's 21 now, and so she played her first slot machine this year and had some fun, and it's cool, like getting to do, we're not going to Circus anymore or going to the M&M factory.
Yeah.
It's like we get to go eat some good restaurants and see some like shows that kids wouldn't understand. We went to O, and
that's a great one.
We went to the Sphere and saw a show there, and it's I love having my kids out there because it's so grueling, like just being in front of a bunch of, now poker's a bunch of 25-year-old assholes that think they know everything, and to have my kids and just hang out with them. Well, they're 21 and 17-year-old assholes that know everything too. But no, it's cool getting to hang out with them and taking a step back from competing every day for 14 hours a day. And it was really relaxing. And it's something that I'll get to share with them probably for the rest of my life. They'll probably always come out. And I mean, Maddie's come out every single year of her whole life. And so it's...
I'm sure it's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah. So going back to poker. So general strategy obviously is to win, but I'm sure every player probably has their different strategies. I'm sure some are really good at bluffing.
Yeah.
Others not so good at that, or some are going to be...
Poker's cool because there's more than one way to win. Like for me, one of my things for me is that I try to have the action revolve around me, and I try to kind of piss people off and get them targeting me. And then I have like one of my best friends, his name is John, and he does it completely opposite. He's really successful at being really nice to you, and he saves a bet here and there because he's been so nice to the guy next to him, and it's like he gets him to not bet in a situation where he should bet, or he's able to bluff that person because he's made a rapport with him that this guy's thinking, oh, well, this guy's never going to bluff me. He's my buddy. And so there's a lot of different ways. There's people that play really tight and only play, really high quality cards. And then there's people that play a lot of cards that so now the other person thinks that their hand strength is so much more because he knows that this guy over here is playing every hand. So there's a lot of different ways to win, and it's poker. They say it's solved now. They say that a computer has figured out the perfect path and perfect way to play every hand, but it's not true because the computer doesn't know this person. The computer is not looking this person in the eye, and the computer, yes, the computer has solved playing the computer, like playing perfect strategy. When all strategies are perfect and there's no personalities added to the formula, to the recipe, yes, the computer's perfect. But every different person brings a different personality, brings a different mood to the table. And those are things that are never going to change, and that's why poker will be around till there's no money left. It might be soon.
Wait, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it might be soon. Yeah. You know what's crazy about it? Like, the poker community was huge into Bitcoin from the very beginning. And there's a lot of 9-figure wealths from Bitcoin. And unfortunately, I'm not one of them. And I knew there was a poker site called Seals and Clubs in, let's call it 2013. And it was a poker site that you would deposit money, they would turn it into Bitcoin, and you would play with like 1 Bitcoin ante, 2 Bitcoin ante. And back then, Bitcoin was worth like 80 cents a Bitcoin. So there's in the poker world, there is some crazy Bitcoin stories. I personally know 3 billionaires from Bitcoin itself.
Wow.
And it's pretty sad that I'm not a billionaire.
Well, if we'd have known,
There's plenty.
New stuff like that comes along, and you're just kind of like, well, who knows? Earlier you were talking about how, when you were talking earlier, and I said, you're making my brain kind of go crazy right now. There's a parallel, I think, when you're talking about poker, and just other people with what they want to, like they have ambition to do something, or they feel like they have desire, like, hey, that's what I want to do in life, or I want to do this, but they're fearful, and they don't, fear holds them back. And you're talking about how that's one of your assets, is you're not afraid to lose, you're not afraid to hold back, you're not afraid to do that. And I was sitting there thinking, man, there's so many people that they don't ever reach their potential because of fear, and they don't want to be all in, or they don't want to get after it.
Yeah, I want to say that I always knew, but I didn't. I got really lucky. In 1999, I was a courier at a law firm, and I quit. And I was always playing poker a couple nights a week. So in my mind, poker was going to be the extra income, where it allowed me to do things that I wouldn't be able to do with my skill sets in the regular workforce. But in 1999, I quit my job as a courier to start my own courier company. And the guy that I was starting a courier company with ended up flaking out on me. So I was in between jobs. I didn't want to go back to the place that I had just quit. And then, like, 2 weeks later, there was a tournament in Philadelphia, Mississippi, and it was like the Southeastern Championship or something. And I ended up going down there and doing really well. And that was in '99 when I was like, you know what? I can play against the best in the world. At the time, I thought that the best in the world was hanging out in Philadelphia, Mississippi. But also, I'm a 24-year-old cocky-ass kid that really thought I could do anything. So I did well in Philadelphia. Then a month later, the World Series of Poker was coming around, and I went out there and had some success. And I was like, you know what? I'm pretty good at this, and I'll keep going. And
And again, you kept going though, and that's I think some people they kind of fall back and saying, okay, I'll just go back to like you said, you could have gone back to the other career. And I always talk, it comes up where some people talk about how these doors opened up, and like, hey, I had a chance to go do that. So, I mean, you could have not walked through the door. You could have not gone to that tournament. Sure. You could have not have done, you could have just said, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. But you opened up to the opportunities.
Yeah, my experience from gambling, like, it really made me like not afraid of risk. And I didn't have many, and at 24 years old, I didn't have many responsibilities. I didn't have kids. And I always knew that I could come back to Atlanta, beat up on the games here. I could deal in a poker game a couple days a week. So there was always the safety net that was there. But also at the same time, at 24, I think that I'm smarter than everybody. I think that no matter who sat in front of me, it wouldn't matter. I would figure out a way to win. And that wasn't the case completely, but luckily my formula, or I was good enough to build the belief, to continue building those blocks. I mean, if I would have gone down to Biloxi and just continued to get beat, I probably would have stopped. But yeah, I would go down there, I would lose a little, but win more. And lose, continue to learn, and then win. And then go to Vegas. Luckily, I got really lucky in Vegas my first time. But, I mean, to this day, I play the biggest tournaments in the world to this day. And yes, I lose some, and yes, I recognize that there are people better, but I don't know. I just figure out a way. Nobody understands it because I don't play every hand perfect, and I don't play every hand as good as some of the other pros. But I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
What it is, I'm not sure, but...
Well, I think you hit on it earlier. You said you're not going to lose the same weight. You're not going to make the same... they say the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over again.
Same result. Right.
Same result. And I think you hit on that. I think you hit definitely on that. And so
as long as I keep learning, and poker really intrigues me. Like it really intrigues me in ways that, just because there are so many different ways to win. Like you see one crusher winning a certain way, and then you see another guy crushing, doing completely different things. Yeah. And I just try to absorb it all and watch great players and keep an open mind, where you'll see some people that are really good and they are talking bad about, I can't believe that guy won. I can't believe that what he's doing works. Well, I mean, look at Glavin. Glavin couldn't throw 90 miles an hour ever. But he had a nasty changeup that nobody could hit.
Yeah.
And so he's doing it his way. And there's similarities in every aspect of life, no matter what it is, from any business to any sport to any game. There's more than one way to win. And as long as you keep an open mind to learning from smart people, and instead of critiquing, analyze it, and instead of judging and be like, oh no, that's not going to work. And like, I look at it as, wow, why does that work? Because it does. And I try to mix it in and try to make myself, like a chameleon of all these different people. I don't have to have my own style.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have to be some person that's this creator of everything, and just give me a little bit of everything and let me soak it in and see what I can do with it.
Let me ask you about your golf caddy career. Let's touch base on that. So how long was that career? And
it would have been longer if my player was decent and didn't shoot 80 every time he needed to shoot 72. I met John 2006, 2007, and both of us, him, retiring, and me and my poker career, I don't play that much, so I have a lot of time for golf. So we would battle on the golf course. We would play lots of holes every day, and he has to compete at the highest level of no matter what it is, and he has to do it around the clock. So the U.S. Open qualifier came up, and I got to caddy for him a couple times, and it was pretty fun. But it's slow golf is not for John. It's like he has the game to compete.
Oh yeah.
if he could get into a cart, hit a shot, and go to the next shot. Like if there was one person on every hole, John might be on the PGA Tour. But it's not like that, and it's hit and wait and hit and wait, and that's not. And John's not at his best when that's the kind of golf he has to play, and so, unfortunately, that shortened my caddy career.
I know. I'm sure it was fun though.
Oh, it was a blast.
But it had to be some stressful because you're like, you gotta, John's expecting a lot on these.
No, I don't think it's stressful. I mean, he's
gonna hit his club no matter what.
Yeah, I'm not there calling him off. I'm basically there just cleaning the golf ball and cleaning the club and carrying the bag. That's the extent of my caddy expertise.
Oh man, I'd like to maybe caddy one of these days.
It's fun.
I'm good at cleaning balls.
I just love competing. I love competing, and even there as the caddy, like in my mind, I'm competing. Like it's like in my mind, my job is just as important as his, and it's fun. And he plays golf a lot better than me, so it made it even more fun.
All right, so we're gonna come to a close here, and I always like to say, for my guests to say, some advice to maybe some of the younger gamblers and players that are coming up through the ranks. I mean, is it like just?
My best advice would be just understand that you don't know everything. That was one of my biggest assets. Is I was cocky, but I always was open to learn, and I would absorb every bit of knowledge that I possibly could. I took every opportunity to talk to successful people and just listen and never judge. And when you look, you could listen to the same story two different ways. You could listen to it and judge and think, oh, that doesn't work. Oh no, he's crazy. He stinks. Or you could listen to it and you can ask yourself, why is this person successful? And that's basically what I've always done. And another bit of advice is surround yourself with good people. Think about your goals, think about what you want to accomplish, and surround yourself with like-minded people. And it's that my career has like a second stage. And in the first part of my career, I was surrounded by the wrong people. And now over the past 5-7 years, I have the strongest support system. I have the most amazing wife, the best friends, people that hold me accountable, people that teach me every single day. And I think that if I would have had this support system back 20 years ago, there's literally no telling where my career would have gone.
And you may have already answered it, but I always like to end with keys to success. Some people say it's always do your best, or look at the best in this, or do unto others, or what. There's always someone. Everybody's got different keys to success. You may have already hit on some of them, but the Josh Arieh keys to success or strategies to success. Anything else that you a good nugget? Or
it's just what I just said.
Yeah,
it's just like
I thought it might.
Yeah, really. Lesson. When you lose, don't beat yourself up. It's a lesson, and it's something that you can always look back and learn something from. And that mixed with just surrounding yourself with good people that pick you up when you're down, kind of level you when you get too high and you think you're too, there's time, especially in poker, there's times when you think you're hot shit, and you need those people to just like pull the reins back and be like, you know what, Josh, you're going good right now, but it's you're no better than you were the day before. So,
well, listen, it's been awesome having you here, and I appreciate your time with me. I'd like to thank Chris Sedgwick. He's owner of Pure Taqueria and a bunch of other restaurants, letting us use this facility of his. And if you ever want to have a good meal, hit Pure Taqueria, right? It's a good place.
I love it. I live 5 minutes from here, and
Yeah.
we go to Pure and TBB.
Yeah,
And,
he owns all those, and
we're
Vinny's
here
and a
all the
bunch of
time.
others. So, Josh, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for everything you do for me.
Absolutely.
You're always fixing my knee or my back or my shoulder. And
well, you know, it's
if anybody
a
needs,
tough sport.
if anybody needs a good PT, this is the guy.
And be sure to hit the subscribe button on the channel there, and catch future episodes, and go back and see other great ones.